So now we have to do coarse shadows on the spheres, and as you know from your Drawing 2 class, your coarse shadows just about in this area here. So we're going to take a little clean water, and we are going to not fill in the coarse shadow, but work around the edge of it so that we have some softness in order to make sure that that coarse shadow doesn't get too hard-edged. And then we're going to lay in our coarse shadow. And blend. All right, next, take a little water. Figure out where that coarse shadow has to go and create an outline for it in water. Clean the brush, lay that coarse shadow in, pick up any wetness, too much wetness, clean the brush, and soften the edges. I'll tell you that these geometric forms will be the hardest thing that you have to do in terms of identifying form. When you get into petals and stems and things like that, this becomes a lot easier to do. I have faith. It's just... All right. Clean the brush and feather this all in. Feather the edge, feather the edge, feather the edge, and feather the inside edge. All right, now we let this dry. Now we're going to add a bit of local color. So I'm going to take this orange and test it and see just how dark it is, and maybe add a little bit more color. And we're going to start on the left hand side, and we'll run a bead of color, and these are going to be graduated tones. So clean the brush, go just about a third of the way in, and you want to bring that to the highlight. Pick up the puddle and clean the brush. Just taper that edge. Last one. Clean the brush. Just taper that edge. Just barely touch that edge. And as you can see, that orange went right to the edge of the shape. So what you can do is just blot it up, and then we'll come back in. Don't touch the edge, obviously. Okay. Now you can do more than one layer. You don't have to, this doesn't have to be your final layer. But this will give you some idea of how this is going to come together. So we'll wait for this to dry, and then I'll do the right-hand side. going to start with the complement. Again, I'm going to put just a little bit of a watery or a damp edge on this side of the cylinder. Then I'm going to go into my paint and I'm going to just leave the slightest amount of color there. And we're going to come a little farther in. Clean the brush. And taper it to the highlight. Now you notice that I am not painting the highlight. I'm just leaving that color that we originally put down as a flat wash. See how the shadow is beginning to work now. All right, next one. We're just going to put a little bit of color here. Go into our wash, into our main color. And pick up some of the puddle. Clean the brush. And start to taper. You get a puddle, pick it up. Don't let it stay there. And on this side, we're just going to soften that edge a little bit. Last but not least, puddles. If I saw puddles, I got rid of them before I went to the graded wash here. Now we can do our spheres. Again, I want this edge to be a little soft. So I'm going to, on this side, which has the darkest color, and this time you can come in a little bit more into the center of the sphere, closer to the highlight. And this is only your first stage here. Pick up some of this moisture, it's a little too wet. Clean the brush, and then soften this edge. Soften, soften, soften. Clean the brush, and soften where you've brought it to so that you get a nice transition. Let's do it again. We have a little time on this ambient light edge because we dampened it, but we don't have too much time on this highlight edge, so it's very important to get in here and soften it. We're going to soften this edge a little bit. Make sure your brush is fairly dry. Last but not least here. And we'll do this last one. See See that puddle there? We got to get rid of it. As soon as you see it starting to move paint around, you got to clean that brush. You notice me wiping it off. It's to get a lot of the moisture out of the brush as we're working. Now you're going to ask me what to do with the top edge, huh? Okay. We're just going to put a little graded wash on the top edge. These are dry now. Your darkest edge will be opposite, and it'll be kind of a flat blend that goes to the back of the cylinder. Pick some of that up. All right, we're going to add more orange to the cylinders so they have a little bit more of a local color. I have to wait now a few minutes because I just washed the tops. Let's add more local color because we've got plenty of shadow on these. See, it didn't take much shadow to create dimension. We're going to go through the same process again. Clean the brush, soften the edge. All right, let's do some more orange on the spheres. Okay. Oops. Finish this last one up. So you can go back in and make adjustments. Think before you do it, you know, what's going to happen if I do this and what's going to happen if I do that. Now these paints are quite wet right now, so they will lift a little bit so that you can clean things up or move things around a little. But I would definitely practice if I were you. Now there are places where I have some issues that I need to fix, but I will wait until they're dry. But this gives you the general idea of what needs to be done. So looking at the assignment, you can see that I added considerable amount of more local color. The shadow layer still shows through, and you can continue to add color when you do your exercises. You don't have to use as much water. You can make your pigments a little stronger and then again feather them out like for a graded wash, and you should be able to come up with some decent results. I suggest that you practice the spheres or at least one, so you get a feel for how to do it on some scrap paper so that you don't find yourself fighting with it when you get to the exercise. So that's it. That's your assignment for this week.